Caledonian McBrain and the Big Light present
Falcha, I'm Coinneach Macleod, the Hebridean Baker. Originally from the Isle of Lewis, I'm an author, TV presenter and travel blogger.
And I'm Natalie Galloway, a singer-songwriter from Fife.
We spend most of our time travelling the world, seeking out amazing places and meeting the people who live there. Together, we're the perfect guides to the very best things to do, see, eat and enjoy on your next adventure to the incredible islands off the west coast of Scotland.
Welcome to Scottish Island Adventures.
This episode, we're staying on the mainland as we take you on a tour of the sights and sounds of the town known as the gateway to the Hebrides, Oban. Just 3 scenic hours on the train from Glasgow, this wee town is one of Scotland's most beautiful resorts. And it's also the starting point for loads of CalMac routes.
In fact, you can catch a ferry from Oban to Barra, Coll, Colonsay, Islay, Lismore, Mull, South Uist and Tiree.
Coming up, I take a walk down the beautiful coastline to one of Oban's most iconic sites where I sampled some amazing seafood. First though, I needed to work up an appetite, so I went in search of some of Oban's incredible history. I've just walked along the seafront, past all the CalMac ferries, heading to all the islands, and I've arrived at Dunnollie Castle. You'll see it when you come in on the ferries if you're coming from Colonsay or Barra. But today I'm going to be meeting Flora, one of the tour guides. But first, I'm actually going to take the tour.
Welcome to Dunollie, and thank you for coming this morning. And before I even start, can you tell me if anybody here a MacDougall? Oh, well, welcome to MacDougall HQ. Good to have you. And do make sure you sign your name. There's a clan map in the reading room, and you can.
Well, Flora, we've just finished the tour. I absolutely loved it, but we're down here at the kettle for a cuppa now, just to catch up.
Indeed we are, yes.
Take us back to the beginning of Dunnollie Castle.
Well, the name Dunollie itself seems to predate the MacDougall clan and goes back to about the 5th and 6th century when this part of Argyll was being settled from what's now Northern Ireland. And we have the first written evidence of the name Dunollie in the writings of Adamnan, who was the biographer of St Columba. And
when would there have been a castle here for the first time?
We think it's dating from the late 12th century, with bits, added on at different times.
For many folk, they'll be coming in on the CalMac ferry or waiting for the CalMac ferry, and it really is just a beautiful sight as you come into Oban, isn't it? Why is this such a strategic point for the castle?
It's an absolutely perfect vantage point to literally guard the entrance to the natural harbour of Oban Bay, which has seen the galleys of Somerled in the late 12th century through to the galleys of Robert the Bruce in the early 14th, and nowadays that's the CalMac ferries that are plying back and forth through the day, as well as fishing boats and yachts and so on. So it's always been a natural harbour. Dunnollie Castle is just perfectly placed in a strategic position, in not only guarding the harbour but also with a perfect viewpoint for the sea lanes coming in from all kinds of directions around all the different islands.
It's the MacDougall clan that's most synonymous with the castle, is that right?
Indeed, it's their castle. It's to this day, continuously, since the castle was built through to the present day. This has been MacDougall HQ, if you like.
The clan has a fascinating, never mind the castle, but the clan has a fascinating history.
They certainly do. There's things have happened in literally every century since they were founded. And in fact, the site itself has been a site of human habitation since the Stone Age and every era in between. It's a highly significant site in Scotland. It was actually one of the capitals of the ancient kingdom of Dalriada, and there would have been a hill fort. Any remains of that will actually be underneath the castle.
And they played quite a big role in the kind of political intrigue of Scotland in those days, didn't they? They were very influential.
Yes, certainly. As I said, one of the major players, if you like, in Scotland. And during the time of Robert the Bruce, they were opposed to Bruce. They allied themselves with the Red Comyn, who was Bruce's arch enemy. And this is because the chief was married to the Red Comyn's aunt. And together with the Comyns, they formed a power base here in the west coast of Scotland, which became a thorn in Bruce's side. And they fought two battles in 1306 and 1308. And it's during one of these battles, the Battle of Dalry, that the clan obtained the Great Brooch of Lorne. You can see the original of that is in the National Museum in Edinburgh. It's silver with freshwater pearls and a great big charm stone in the middle. Now, this is considered to perhaps have had some kind of magical powers, if you like. Now, Scotland was a deeply religious nation in the early 14th century, but it was also deeply superstitious. And part of this was a belief in charm stones, which are also quite a status symbol if you had one of those. And Bruce himself might have associated the charm stone with his luck or his strength. So by seizing this from his cloak during the battle, it wasn't just a case of getting a big expensive brooch or a piece of bling. It might have been quite a lot more significant than that, and I'm sure Bruce was absolutely raging that he'd lost his splendid brooch. So the clan have kept it and worn it ever since. It's, as I said, a very significant piece of Scottish history.
Now, you mentioned Robert the Bruce, and he really did leave his mark on history here at Dunnollie Castle, didn't he?
Certainly did, yes. The Bruce, as I said, was defeated at the Battle of Dalry in 1306. But he went away and raised another army, and he was back in 1308, this time to fight a battle of the Pass of Brander. You come to the head of Loch Awe and it's into a kind of ravine, and they say the loch is as deep as the hill is high, and that's Ben Cruachan. There wouldn't have been a levelled road or railway in those days, and also Scotland was densely forested before it got deforested in later centuries, so a very awkward place to have a battle. We know that Bruce sent some of his warriors, including the Douglas, to climb Ben Cruachan and attack from the rear, and with this strategy he was victorious this time, and he was able to punch through the narrow pass of Brander with his armies and take Dunstafnage and Dunollie. And as I said, that being MacDougall HQ, this was at that time was quite a disaster for the MacDougalls. And Bruce took everything. He gave away all of their castles to his allies, but it seems like he's kept Dunollie for himself. Now, there's no written evidence of Bruce ever coming to live here, so it seems most likely he's kept it as a defensive fortress. And he's known to have done a lot of his battles at sea. He fought in countless sea battles, so he may very well have kept his galleys here, which may have been an absolutely splendid sight here in Oban Bay. But what a sight that must have been.
Flora, there's been legendary figures through the centuries who have become clan chiefs here. Tell us some of the ones that really stand out for you.
Probably the founder of the clan himself is Somerled, who's got quite a major figure in Scottish history. He was half Norse and half Scottish, and he carved out a territory for himself of about 250 square miles, most of which comprises pretty much the whole of what's now Argyll. And he was the first person to have the title the Lord of the Isles. And when he finally passed away after being killed in battle in 1164, that's considered to be the founding of Clan MacDougall. He had a son called Dougal. Mac, of course, means son of, so after Dougal, that's the founding of the clan, but Somerled is definitely considered to be the first chief.
And there's been some characters along the way as well.
Yeah. Well, there was a bit of a rogue chief called Duncan in the middle of the 16th century. He was a big spender. He's the one who actually built Guyland Castle for himself. It was a kind of hunting lodge, if you like, and furnished it in the best possible taste. You know, he was importing satin cloth from Venice and glassware and so on. He's said to have been possibly spying for Queen Elizabeth I, so I guess he had to get his money from somewhere. And we do have some scraps of magnificent embroidered fabric that would have been made for perhaps his wife's gowns, and so, as I said, a bit of a rogue there, Chief Duncan. And another standout chief obviously would be Admiral John, you know, who is built the main house here. He had joined the Navy at a very young age and showed tremendous talent and rose rapidly through the ranks, and by the end of his career he'd been made an admiral. He was also knighted and became Sir John MacDougall. And was the first chief to marry from outside of Scotland. He married young Sophie Timmins. His father was a captain in the East India Company, and they lived very cultured lives here. They had visitors such as the artist Turner, the poet Wordsworth, the composer Mendelssohn was here. He's said to have done some of his compositions while he was staying here at Dunollie. This became a very cultured household.
And tell us a little bit about the current clan chief.
The current clan chief is the 31st clan chief. Her name's Madame Morag MacDougall, and she's the 31st chief. The last two chiefs have been ladies, so that represents a break in tradition. Up until the 20th century, only a man could be chief, but I think that's now, it's the oldest child now that it passes down to.
Now, we're sitting down here at the cafe, and I recognise somebody who's just walking down, and it's a family member of the clan. Robin, hello, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Tell us your connection to the clan.
Yeah, well, my mother's the clan chief Morag, yeah. So, yeah, I'm the oldest son, and I've got one younger sister who lives in Brighton with her family.
And what does the castle mean to you, Robin?
Very much so, very much my ancestral home. That's what sort of wherever I live elsewhere, it'll always be my true home here.
Well, Flora, Robin, thanks for letting somebody from the Clan MacLeod come to visit all the way from Lewis today. But thanks so much, and I'll definitely be back for another visit.
Great, lovely to see you, and thank you so much for visiting. It's been great.
I loved my visit to the castle, and you can visit Dunnollie Castle too. It's open from the 15th of March to the 1st of November every year. For more information on this and all the island destinations, go to calmac.co.uk.
That sounded brilliant, and how incredible that you got to run into one of the family.
Yeah, I've got to know Robin quite well, and his family have done so much to preserve the castle ruin and have created an incredible museum to accompany it. You really have got to check it out the next time you're up in Oban, Natty. Well, our studio guest is a local expert and might just be able to give you some tips on maximising your time in Oban. I knew there was only one man to bring in, and I'm delighted to say that we're joined by my partner, Oban native and the Highland Hutter, Peter MacQueen. Peter, welcome to Scottish Island Adventures.
Thanks so much.
So, speaking of Oban, if I was just going to the ferry, I didn't have a lot of time, where am I going? What do I have to see in Oban if I've only got a little bit of time to be in there?
Well, that's a great question, and I think it's very important to stay Oban-minded when you're thinking about this.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry about that. I mean, the obvious thing is that you must make a trip up the hill to McCaig's Tower.
Right.
It was built in 1897 by a local family, by a local banker, to create employment for folk in the area. And it's a kind of Colosseum-like structure. And in the modern day form of it, it's got gardens in there and a viewing platform. And in Oban, you need to get up high. I mean, it's a gorgeous seaside town, as everybody knows. And, you know, it's the gateway to the islands, but it's also known as Scotland's seafood capital. And get up high so that you can see those views, because some of the sunsets looking west are just unbelievable. So McCaig's Tower is the first thing. And then I don't know if you know of a wee golfer from Oban called Bob McIntyre, who's doing really rather well in the whole kind of pro circuit. So I think a wee trip to Bob's home golf course, Glencruiton Golf Club, or if it's a rainy day, there's a local golf lounge as well, so you can go there to swing your golf clubs. And then Oban Malt, the Oban distillery. Do you like a dram?
Yes, I very much do.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's one of the best whiskies, and you know...
And that's right in the town centre. You literally you're walking along the main street and you look up and there it is.
There it is, right. And you can go and do wee tours and buy your whiskey, stock up for the way home. But, you know, you're by the sea as well, so not only is there great seafood, but you've got lovely little boat trips heading out. So you go and view the seals, and if you're lucky, you might see some whales, or there's been people spotting some orca around about that coast recently as well, so you never know, you might be lucky. But Oban's a great place to base yourself for some island hopping as well, for some of the local small islands like Seal, Easdale, Ling, Scarborough. All these places are on your doorstep in Oban.
So we're climbing high places, we're going to distilleries, we're playing golf, we're eating fish, and then we're going on boat trips. That's
sold.
Sold,
Natty.
I'm moving there. But back to you, Peter, right? I was listening to Radio Scotland one day and, quote me if I'm wrong, but Kay Adams said that you were the new Felicity Kendall. What's that about?
I don't know what she was talking about. I actually think that I'm the Richard Bryars of this scenario, and Coinneach, you're the Felicity Kendall.
Okay, fine.
But
living the good life.
Yeah, living the good life down at our hut, our cabin, which is just a few miles south of Oban, overlooking the Isle of Seal. And hutting is, I guess, Scotland's expression of cabin culture. So it's kind of picking up in popularity. People are building little huts, and they're a place for a family to own. They're not for renting out or for Airbnb or anything like that. They're for a family, for their family group and their friends to go and, I don't know, connect with nature, chop firewood, get the stove on, cook things, maybe make some bramble jelly.
And they have to be completely off-grid, don't they?
Totally
Peter?
off-grid.
Aye.
You know, usually there's a wee solar panel to maybe charge your phone if you've got signal. But yeah, you're disconnected from the pressures of modern life, and hutting's a great thing. If I couldn't tell people to take to the hills and go hutting any more than I possibly have in the Art of Hutting book, which was a great pleasure to write. And I got to visit lots of the huts around Scotland and take photos of them all and meet the hutters, and they're a lovely crowd. So if anyone's got a hutter's heart out there, then hutting might be for you. But there's also loads of commercial sector cabins in Scotland, and that's a good way to test if hutting might be a thing for you. But yeah, happy hutters don't go in aeroplanes as much.
All right. Well, so what is your favourite thing about that off-grid sort of like being away from the hustle and bustle of everything else?
Oh my goodness, getting your feet warmed by a stove crackling with a wee whiskey in hand, the dog at your feet snoozing, and hopefully Coinneach's making pancakes on the hot plate. Perfect.
I'm coming. So people can tune into the TV show, am I right, on BBC Alba?
Yeah, we made a series for BBC Alba called Bohach Fatric, which means Peter's hut. So if you think of the word bothy,
Aye.
that's like a wee cabin. So in Gaelic it becomes Bohach or Bohan. And so Bohach Fatric, Peter's hut. And yeah, it's up on the iPlayer quite frequently on BBC Alba as well. So if anyone fancies seeing if the hut life might be for them, then tune in.
So we've got the book, we've got the TV show. You've given me everything that I can possibly do in Oban, which I'm just going to go tomorrow actually and do all of that in record time. But where else can people find you online?
Well, Instagram's my kind of social media home, and hashtag the Highland Hutter.
See, easy peasy.
Well, after my lovely experience at Dunnollie Castle, it was time for me to head into town and get ready to catch my ferry. But I had one very important stop to make first. One of my favourite walks in Oban is walking back from Dunollie Castle into the town centre, just along the quayside. And there's just so much activity going on. I think that's the Mull ferry just coming in to land. We've got the fishing boats with their catch, and lots of locals and tourists just pottering about the town. It's really very full of life. And after that trip round Dunollie Castle, I'm a wee bit peckish. Nestled right on the CalMac Pier, the Oban Seafood Hut, affectionately known as the Green Shack, is a must visit for seafood lovers coming to Oban. Today we're meeting with Anthony, and he's going to share the story of how his wee hut has become the most Instagrammable food spot in Oban. A delivery's just come in. What have you brought today?
Well, we've got some lobster. They're all a select size, the smaller size, for the sake of the customers. And the brown crab.
So, Tony, what do you think of the catch today?
I think it's good. This will be tomorrow's crab sandwiches. So two cages you see here. The lobsters, one of these poor little guys, that's going to be on top of the grand platter. Can't really get much fresher. It's unbelievable, you know.
I mean, it's some catch. I mean, there's probably maybe about 30, 40 lobsters in there.
Yeah, about 30 lobsters.
About 2.5 dozen.
About 2.5. Yeah. Well, shall we get this in for Alana to start working on? Very good. The table is full of crab claws. What's going on just now?
So we're just processing the crab ready to make sandwiches and dressed crabs with. So I've just pulled all the legs off and split the bodies apart. These guys here are processing the brown meat, which is what comes out.
Tony, how did this all start? And when did it start?
So it actually came about in the late 80s, early 90s. So there was a recession on. Fishing prices was really at that time at an all-time low. You've come out of the 80s, you've come out of this huge boom of economic, and it was the first time they really experienced a little dip and a downward. And they were struggling to export product. And what John did, my father, the founder, the owner, what he did was he decided it was kind of a last-ditch resort to even pay the fuel bills of the boat, everything, was to open this little shed here. And this used to be the baiting shed,
Okay.
where he used to bait the lines for dogfish in the winter. And it literally, there was no counter, it was just plastic fish boxes with ice. They bought a few chopping boards, started cooking their own stuff. They had an old boiler in the back, and started making prawn sandwiches. And from there, it kind of, the first couple of years, it was a bit of a slow slug. And then it kind of gained a little bit of a reputation, you got some customers, repeat business. And then a few newspapers got in touch, and next thing you know, they were talking about it in the House of Commons, I think in '94, and it was unbelievable. And then it got to a way where he couldn't really kind of close it.
Amazing. And where did the name come from? It's famously named the Green Shack. So where did that come from?
Yeah, well, it literally is just a shack. I mean, if you just had a look around, it's not even. So every year we try and go to a licensing board and things, and it literally is a shack, and that's what they have to put it down as. It's always been the same. It was built in the '60s. It's just a great little thing, and the colour. Traditionally, all John's boats were green because traditionally at sea, green was very unlucky. And my father, I didn't really believe that, and also it was a great way of identifying. Obviously at night, because the fishing industry's changed a lot. There used to be maybe 40, 50 boats here. It wasn't the piers weren't very as well lit as they were. And this bright green boats, so if you've had maybe one or two, little drinks, you know to get back on, yeah.
Now, just describe the location of where the seafood shack is in Oban.
We're literally located right next to the CalMac ferry. On a good day, you can see Mull. You got a beautiful visual view of Kerwa. Where we're actually sitting now, I actually say this is the sweet spot. This is the best spot. I mean, a day like this, where else would you rather be eating, say for example, a plate of scallops and knowing that they came from 3 miles out there? Do you know what I mean?
Now, the location is perfect, but what is it you think that makes people come back year after year?
Do you know? I think there's two things. I think it's level is that we're very down to earth, we're very casual. It's a lot of seafood. It tends to be very high end restaurants and things like that. You don't really tend to see. We hate the term cheap. We like to say ourselves as we're affordable. We're affordable. Anyone, you can come here with a huge family, literally stuff your faces, and it's not really going to break the bank. But where if you go to a more expensive restaurant, it can be quite pricey, and it tends to become almost a special occasion event, if you understand what I mean. And that's a real shame, because if as a country in a whole we were eating more, we wouldn't have to export so much. And it's so sad to be catching stuff on your doorstep and having to export the quantity we actually do. It's very sad,
Now, while we've been sitting here, all I can smell is these amazing mussels, and I can smell the garlic and lemon just there. So, shall we go over and see what's on the menu today?
Spot around, yeah.
Well, can you get the tickets? So imagine you had 3 or 4 folk come and they just said, look Tony, this is our first time in Oban and we don't know too much about shellfish. What are you going to bring out for them?
I would always say the platter is very good, because it's a very good first time out. You kind of get to have a little pick and a little nibble, and you also find out what your tastes are, what you like, what you don't like.
What do you get on the grand platter for two?
So literally everything you see apart from oysters. Okay. So I mean literally, so on it you've got a whole lobster, you've got scallops, you've got langoustine, you've got crab claws, You've got mussels, you've got whelks, you've got cockles, you've got shrimp, you've got squid. You've got literally everything.
Now, Vernon, you're just outside. You've got a big pan. What's in the pan?
Just mussels.
Uh-huh.
And we put onion, garlic and lambrini. So just to cut a wee bit of the saltiness. It only takes 5 minutes, but we actually leave it for a wee bit longer just to steam. So this is how we do it. So this is how we cook it.
Can't wait to try some. Thanks.
Yeah.
36, 6 oysters.
Oh boy, lunchtime at Seafood Shack. It's busy. I'm going to have to queue up for my platter. A whole menu.
36.
Ticket number 34 for a grand platter.
That's me.
Can I see your wee ticket, please, Bob?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, splendid, mate. Can I just take that, please?
Yeah.
Right, pal. You enjoy that.
Wow. This, they call it the grand platter. And I think I've just realised why. This is amazing. Lobsters, langoustine, mussels, prawns. Wow, what a treat. Can't wait to try it. For more information on this and all the island destinations, go to calmac.co.uk. Well, what a treat that was. Oh my goodness. And if you do fancy that grand platter, just head down to the pier in Oban just before you get on the CalMac ferry. Peter, apart from the seafood hut, what are some of the other foodie places people must go when they visit Oban?
God, Oban for a small town has loads of options, and like Tony was saying, the Seafood Shack's great, and I love how you could hear the seagulls in the background there looking for a bit of a scrap to steal, so you've got to be careful when you're eating outside there at the table. But another great seafood institution in Oban is Eask.
Eask, yeah.
Which is spelled EEUSK.
So not exactly, because what does it mean in Gaelic?
It means fish.
It does mean fish, but spelled a wee bit differently.
Yeah, so that's the phonetic spelling, but in proper Gaelic it's IASG, Eask.
But a great restaurant.
Great restaurant, yeah. And you don't have to dodge the seagulls if you're sitting in there. There's a great coffee spot called Hinba. They roast all their own coffee beans. Magic, really nice cakes as well. The Mandarin Thai cuisine.
Yeah, quite new actually for the town, and I'm hearing great things about it.
Yeah, my brother raves about it all the time, so Coinneach, next time we're there, let's go there.
Okay.
The Oban Inn for a pint.
Mm-hmm.
That's a must.
Say no more. There's a wee kind of sunny deck right outside it, and you can watch the world going by. But Oban's got heaps of pubs, so it's great for a wee pub crawl as well, and then, before you get on the ferry, you can have a couple of jars.
And if you were to do any kind of wee day trips, if you've got the car and you're driving about, anywhere else just outside Oban that works?
Yeah, for eating, I love going down to the Tyne Truish, just over the bridge across the Atlantic at the Isle of Seal, and you get a great bar meal in there, and cracking wee spot.
I feel like stuffed full already, and I'm not like hearing about the seafood hut and then all these restaurants. I don't think I'll ever eat again until I go back to Oban. But what was the highlight of the seafood platter? What was your favourite part?
Natty, the whole thing was really so special. I mean, the whole lobster, wow, just plonked on the top.
Is it a whole lobster?
A whole lobster. Delicious.
I didn't know that.
There's something about being down at the quayside, eating this super fresh seafood, seeing the boats that it came off. There's nothing quite like it. But before I forget, Peter, you entered a competition a couple of years back on an island just near Oban. Tell us a wee bit about it.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, actually, my family come from this island, Easdale Island, which is part of the Slate Islands of the Lorne area of Argyll, and they're known as the islands that roof the world. And every year they have a stone skimming championship.
The World Stone Skimming Championships.
Just a few miles south of Oban. Natty, you've got to come.
You've got to explain this to me.
I reckon you're going to be a 50 stone skimmer, no bother.
I mean, I got 3 once and thought I was the queen of the universe, so... Well, this episode has made me hungry and full, made me feel wholesome and inspired. So I've made this wee list. Peter, I hope you don't mind. So what I'm going to do starting tomorrow is I'm going to just stop doing everything that I'm currently doing. And I'm going to ride a boat in Oban, golf in Oban, eat seafood in Oban, climb hills in Oban, drink whiskey in Oban, build a hut, maybe not in Oban, but somewhere. Build a hut, get a dog, go off grid, and go to the 5 restaurants that you mentioned. How does that sound?
And don't forget the castle.
Oh, the castle. Yes, and go to the castle. So, there's so many things I've got to add to this list now. I'm going to have a busy day. But thank you so much for coming. It's been really nice to finally meet you, and you're amazing. And I'm going to Oban, ain't I?
Stay open-minded. Thanks so much for having me.
Stay open-minded. I love it. I love it. Well, that's all from us this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, like, rate and review, and share with your friends.
For show notes and more information on this and all our other island destinations, plus full details on Caledonian MacBrain's routes, timetables, prices and bookings, go to calmac.co.uk.
Every journey starts a story, so book your Caledonian MacBrain Island adventure now.
This podcast is brought to you by The Big Light. The presenters were Coinneach Macleod and Natalie Galloway. The producer was Flora Zychek, with mixing and original music by Brian McAlpine. The assistant producer was Michael Park.
From the Big Light Studio.